What's up, family? Jared the Bossman here. You're tuned into the Bossman Show on AM 1010, AM 1430, 1055 The King. Let the King out at 105theking.com and the Bossman Show at bossmanshow.com. Hit me up on Instagram, The Bossman Show, Twitter at Bossman Show, and Facebook, Bossman Show. It's the Bossman on your radio.
Listen to the Bossman Show with your host, JR, Saturdays at 9 a.m. right here on AM 1010, The King.
What's up, good people? BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. The latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use your promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Yes, BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV, covering content and hot topics from A to Z, sports, music, society and culture, movie reviews, you name it, we have it. Check it out on bs3network.com or check us out on Roku, BS3 TV on Roku, as well as check out your favorite podcast on all podcast platforms or Spreaker.com/BS3 Network.
You are now tuned to BS3 Network.
All right, folks, we back at it. Episode 16, the Patrick Gayle Show here. You see Coach Gayle has stepped up his background game over there. He got it going on. He said, I'm from New York City. I did this. Didn't know Wizard helped me do nothing. I am here. It's Coach Patrick Gayle.
Hey, big shout out to my wife. That's who gets all the credit. It's my wife. My wife told me I need to step it up. So I stepped it up a little bit through her.
I hear that. And Coach, it's Mother's Day weekend, you there with your wife and beautiful family down there. So talk about, your wife's support of you through your journey of coaching and how she's been very instrumental in pushing you to reach your dreams as a head coach in college basketball.
Definitely. Happy Mother's Day to all of the Mother's Day out there. For the mothers that know, it's not just Mother's Day, it's Mother's Day weekend. They get the whole weekend, JR. So, we dads and we husbands, we know we have to do our things, and happy Mother's Day to my mother in heaven right now. But my wife has been very instrumental, man. She definitely, has allowed me to see, within myself to be a better person, be a better coach. And, it's no coincidence that I got turned down for a high school job right before my first head coaching job. And my wife is the one that told me that any closed door is always going to lead to a better opportunity because the Lord doesn't make mistakes. So big up to her. And, I've persevered through a lot because of her, and she's held it down for the family and myself and allowed me to, do the things that I do. So God bless her. We have 4 beautiful children that she does she's instrumental in developing them, and, wouldn't do anything, wouldn't be anywhere without her.
And Coach, how important is it when you're a coach, man, to have a supportive wife? Because I know even in radio sometimes it gets rough going through a season and being on the road from October to mid-April for me, a little different from you having to recruit all year and coach from November to March. So how is it having a supportive partner and a wife who really understands the business of what we're into and is having been able to support us even through dark days of adversity, whether it be wins, losses, or things that pop up with our teams, on my radio team, or with your players?
Well, JR, yesterday when I was, taking my children to school, we listened to some chapters of the Bible, and we listened to Genesis yesterday, and it talked about, how Adam left, the the Lord and was alone in the garden, and then had to have a companion in Eve, and it said, it's a good thing when you leave your mom and your father's house and you cleave to your wife and you become one flesh. So supportive wives, and for coaches, they go through everything the coaches go through. You know, she's gone through everything I go through. I go through. She goes through the wins. She goes through the losses. She goes through the adversity. She goes through helping, mentorship with the young men. They need a lot. They require a lot, and so as a coach, you have to get that refill from somewhere, and it doesn't come from other coaches. Although we all go through the same thing, we get tested as men. We're men coaching young men. So you get tested as a man. And so you need that nurturing, you need that support from a wife. You go through a lot when you deal with, different things in a job, whether it be, on campus, whether it be alums, whether it be administration, whether it be just health, physical and mental health, so wives go through everything that you go through, and they have to be there, and they have to be what you need at the time that you need. And a lot of wives don't get the credit, because I know for a fact, a lot of coaches that I've talked to, they tell me that they couldn't do it without their wives, and they don't get enough credit because they literally go through everything we go through, and they're on the front lines because they see what we go through when we come home every night.
100%, coach. 100%. Like I said, they wear those wins and losses together, but it's good to have that support to keep you going each day, to get up and go to work and work out, and even when it's a losing streak or whatever comes up, they're there when you come home with those kids as well, to kind of take your mind off it for a little bit before you jump into that fight.
And they see how hard you work. A lot of people take coaches for granted because no one believes coaches work hard enough, because it's all about, it's a black and white situation. Either you win or you lose, or it could be, well, you don't play, my son enough, or alums could be like, oh, you don't do enough for what we're trying to represent. No one sees how hard coaches work in the background, but the wives, they see what we go through, and they live it. It's not just seeing it, they live it. They literally take on that stress with the coaches. So anytime you see a successful coach, there's definitely, a wife behind them.
And speak background, like you just had 3 young men graduate last week: Jordan Simpson, Jameer Moore, and Reggie. So getting those guys across the line, and have another one come across the line this summer. So that's the background work you're doing. You're saving lives, you're making lives, you're giving direction to young men who get over the line and can now move on with their lives after successful time at Albany State through basketball. Now they have opportunity to be successful in their lives going forward.
And the best conversations that coaches have are the conversations directly after graduation, because a lot of these young men don't know what the next step is. They're still trying to be athletes, obviously, but you have to be in the real world now. It's real, and we tell them all the time, it's real now. And it's funny because Jordan made a comment and said, coach, I don't know what to do now. I'm just used to just going to class and hooping. And literally, you have a young man that's like, I don't know what I'm going to do Monday. I want to go to class. I want to work out, because that's what he's been used to doing. He just, and it's a cool thing to hear, because you can see, that there's so much potential. There's so many things to do. And now it's really a test of what your program, was really about. And I'm so proud of a lot of young men that are taking care of their families, that are doing different things. I have a total, spectrum of different careers of guys that have played for me. And that's, to me, the true test of your program. Again, you want to win championships, but if you have young men that aren't doing, you know, something productive for themselves and for their families, that's an indictment on your program. It's not how many pros, come out of your program. It's how many professionals come out of your program. And there is a difference.
And the key is having a relationship with your coach after graduation. I will be honest, on a relationship with a couple of my coaches after graduation, which is fine. I'm cool with it. But the idea is that I know Coach Gayle, you actually care about your players, and it wasn't just help me on the court or the field. It was I care about you as a young man, not what can you do for me for my win loss record.
And you know what's funny, JR, sometimes doing something in the present that may affect them, and give them more adversity in the present is the best thing you can do to help them in the future. So there are a lot of players that have played for me that I've had to do things in the present where basketball was taken away. I actually had a conversation with a young man, a recruit, and I talked to him about a good friend of his that we recruited as well in the past, and that's not at our school, but we're still talking about different players. And the thing I told him was basketball sometimes has to be taken away during the season. And you know what that means, JR? That means sometimes you may lose some games. Sometimes you may lose some seasons because of that. And I could tell the really good coaches just by observing, what do they do to make that young man mature. No one comes into a program ready for the world. No one comes into a college program out of high school ready to do whatever in the world. You see a lot of, 18-year-olds, we grew up in the 80s and 90s. So you see a lot of 18-year-olds that have gone to be professionals. Now look at what they're doing now, and they'll tell you they weren't ready, but the trials and tribulations they had to go through to get to be successful post basketball. And that's what I try to focus on. I try to focus on post their 4 years. I always say when I talk to recruits, I'm not worried about the next 4 years. I'm worried about the next 40 years. And you have to have a vision to see, through that, which means you have to get to know that player. You have to get to understand what is he when you take basketball away, or what basketball is the key. What door does it open for him and within him? And I'm proud to say, I have players that are FBI agents, that are police officers, that are managers, that are owners of small companies and small businesses, that are doing so many different things. I got a random text from a player that's running his own travel program and talked to me, ironically, about dealing with an issue with a young man. Not about basketball or recruiting, just how do I reach this young man, coach? Because this is what you used to do with me, and I'm trying to do the same thing and pay it forward. So I'm so proud of the players that have played for me and what they're doing. So much past their playing careers.
100%, coach. And then also the same thing, with my dad's players, they still revered my dad and revered what he says and took his lessons to heart. And seeing that up close and personal, like how a coach can impact a young man's life. And speaking to your wife as well, she's just to share you with hundreds and thousands of young men who look up, who point to you sometimes as their father figure, because you might be the only real man they encounter, that can actually reach them. So that's also about having to share her husband with a bunch of young men for you to help mentor and mold them.
Yeah, there's a lot of coaches that have wives that you could tell, they go through a lot too. Because when I talk to certain wives and I introduce myself, you can see that defense system go up because they're so used to having to put it on there, and only coaches can recognize, things like that, and you could tell that, yep. You take some lumps when your husband takes lumps. I can tell you're taking it too. You're a good supportive person. And honestly, JR, that's one of the things I talk to my players about. Who you choose as a wife. You have to be very, very discerning when you choose someone to be your wife. And I've been blessed to go to some weddings of some former players, and to say that they have listened to the lesson, and they have listened to what I'm saying. But most importantly, and I've had them tell me this, they have watched me, and my interaction with my wife. Some of my players are very close to me and close to my family, so they know my wife, and they have watched how we interact with each other and what she does, and they are now understanding what to look for in someone, to have a future and have a family with, because you have to have that to be successful.
100%, coach. You really have to be very aware, careful, and mindful of who you're dealing with, and know their mindset, and know where they're coming from, and know if you can deal with their flaws and can they deal with your flaws? Like, it's truly, as coaches of math guy, a math equation how you choose your partner. It's truly scenarios here. It's X plus Y equals Z here to really decide it. That's a
Hey, JR,
perfect match.
I tell my players all the time, you want to hang around a library, you want to hang around a law library, you want to hang around the nursing building if your school has a nursing program, or the chemistry department, the science department, math department. That's where you want to find your mate. So again, I try to give them a vision to help them be successful 40 years down the line.
Coach, I did that, but it still failed on me, Coach.
Well, Jr. You gotta listen to the lesson, Jr. Still hope for you. Still hope for you, Jr. Still hope for you.
Coach, she was in nursing program. She was in that program. And it still will. But it was different. There's more to it than that. But Coach, I try to use your method, Coach, until each state. This did that work out for me, Coach?
Hey, JR. Hey, the one good thing about a woman and finding a good woman is if they are studying with you, and if they're studying more nights than not, that's the one you want. Because she's gonna make you do better. She's gonna make you strive for better. But also, she's there for a reason, and she wants to see you succeed. And basketball, a really good person, a really good mate is gonna, you know what we always say? Let her rebound for you. Get in the gym, let her rebound for you. That's the best date night for a student athlete that plays basketball at the collegiate level that wants to be a pro. Let her be your rebounder. And you know what's funny? I remember a story where I'm walking into the office 8 o'clock in the morning, and I see, and this is years ago, and I'm seeing one of my players shooting, but I don't see him moving. So I walk and I move closer, and I see his girlfriend, and she's just smiling at me. Now, JR, that semester was his highest semester as a student. He had a 3.5 that semester. So when grades came out at the end of the semester, all I did was look at him and say, "This is your girlfriend." He's like, "Yeah, you already know, coach."
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And Coach, speaking of some future students, hopefully you have the prospect camp coming up on May 30th here down in Albany. Talk about prospect camp is these young men get to come down and see what always they have to offer. Some may want to come there. Some just may want to be hear from speakers like yourself and Coach White and see what college spin is all about.
Why you being modest, JR? We got the guest speaker right here, the number one guest speaker coming to our prospect camp. But May 30th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., we got our prospect camp Thursday night. This is for all the 25, 26, 27 classes. We do a prospect camp two times a year, once in May to precede the summer and the following season, and then we do it in October during homecoming. And what we'd like to have is those young men that come in May come back in October. We want to see the growth after the summer, and I'm proud to say a lot of times their recruiting takes off after attending our camp. We've had some camp alums that are Division I players right now. We've had some camp alums that are Division II players doing well. We have currently actually 2 players on our roster that were our prospect camp alums. A lot of times, I had a parent email me a picture of me with his son. He's now in college, in junior college, looking for an opportunity. And JR, I'm just asking, if you're a college coach and you have a young man that attends your prospect camp, and he emails you and asks you when are you doing workouts or whatever, and then you have another young man that has not attended your prospect camp, and he's emailing you, "Hey, coach, looking for an opportunity." You want to get both on campus. So that I'm not saying that you're not going to get both on campus, but if both things are equal, who would you take?
One who went to my prospect camp.
There you go. And it's not because they went to your prospect camp so much as
it's
they've
familiarity.
they've already had a picture of your coaching.
Yes.
They've already had a picture of the campus. They've already had an idea of what you do. So in October, our student athletes, that's a team event. that we do. That's a volunteer event. Every student athlete has to participate and coach, and they coach. All I do is walk around and evaluate. My players and my assistant coach, Coach White, they're coaching, they're evaluating, and it's funny because I have so many players come up to me, Coach, you need to take a look at that kid right there, Coach, and they get kind of tribal because they like, he's from my high school or he's from my area. So you have the guys from Atlanta going against the guys from Albany, going against the guys from Orlando, guys from Miami. It's real fun to just see. And then when they're coaching, in the 5-on-5 games, man, they get just as competitive as when they play in practice. So it's a cool thing to see in October. But in May, we have a lot of coaches that come. So I've had, coaches at the Division I level, coaches at the D2 level, and definitely JUCO coaches come in and post-grad coaches come in that are looking for players. So they'll come in and evaluate as well. So we try to make it, an opportunity where young men are not just, getting coaching from a college coach, but also getting evaluated and recruited from other coaches in the area. A lot of D2 coaches, we know a lot of people. We talk a lot. We have a big, fraternity, and we'll invite each other. Well, I don't know what other coaches do, but I know I invite as many coaches as I can to my prospect camp in May, and guys like you to just come and just share knowledge with these young men because they're all looking for an opportunity.
100%, coach. It's all about the work too, man. And like I said, I'll be honest, coach. I've said this on show before. I think I have. I chose Tennessee State for two reasons. I went to basketball camp as a 4-year-old and met Anthony Mason and Carlos Rogers, and that stuck with me. I knew this place. When I got a car, I already knew the place from a 4-year-old.
Yep.
And I liked it.
Yep.
I went to football camp with L.C. Cole, Johnny Cole, and James Reese. So I already knew Tennessee State from a child. So when I heard of it, I'd already known about it. So I would say going to camps in the summertime can be very good for recruiting if a kid is familiar with your environment. I'm a product of that. Be familiar with an environment, deciding to go there because I already knew what it was from a child, and I liked it.
Absolutely. And let me ask you, JR, what was the distance that you traveled to get to that camp when you were that young? Now that you think about it.
My mother we went up there my mother took me on the Greyhound bus to meet my cousin in Nashville. So 247 miles.
Look at that. And that's what it's all about. And on Mother's Day weekend, look at what your mom sacrificed and look at how it's paid off. At 4 years old, and you entered college around 17, 18. So look at the investment that she made, and it's still paying off to this day. So that's what it's all about, and again, these are things that wives see, that they see how hard you work, they see how much you invest, and even players that aren't even your players, because a lot of these young men don't play for me, but they still contact me, and I still am allowed to help them in whatever capacity because of this introduction of the prospect camp.
No doubt, coach. And that camp cost $80, coach. That's how long ago it was. $80 for 4 days of camp.
Well, guess what? Inflation ain't that bad because our camp only costs $90.
But for one night, though.
Inflation's not that bad.
This was 4 days. Yeah, like I said, I do remember eating pizza on the floor. We watching videos of old NBA. Going to the bookstore, going to the dining hall, which also looked the same when I got there. Which never mind. but all that still stuck with me from a 4-year-old.
Right. Those are lasting memories, JR, and that's what allowed you to be an alum, and that's what that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. You got to get that introduction, and we've had players come from ninth grade on, and they always rave about the facilities at Albany State. We have 2 campuses, we have 2 different arenas, and it's cool to see the players see it now as a high school prospect, and then we have players now on the roster that are now working out there. And trust me, they love being Golden Rams, and it started with that prospect camp. And it's funny because I wish I have it now. I can still show you notes of different coaches that took notes on different players. And it's cool to look back at those notes 4 years ago and see where the players are now. And a couple of those players were on our roster this year. That's the coolest part. And then I've had my players that have attended the prospect camp speak to the players, about their experience. And JR, you want to talk about a great moment, for me, that was a championship moment to hear about them speaking about their experience and them saying, I was you that wanted to be a player, and now I'm a player on the roster. That's huge.
100%, coach. And like you said, that was very important to me as a 4-year-old, like you said, coach, and for them coming to prospect camp, because I feel like that's where you plant those seeds, man. And
Yes.
having Anthony Mason pick me up and say, take a picture with me.
Yes.
It's on Polaroid camera at my dad's house, but I did it. Him and Carlos Rogers both picked me up as a 4-year-old, little punk from Atlanta, Took time, Coach Frank Allen too, took time to talk to me, knowing that I was out of time.
And it's cool because those two guys that you mentioned, Mason and Carlos Rogers, made it to the league. And in our case, a lot of our players aren't going to play in the NBA. And I said, a lot of these guys that you're coaching in this camp aren't going to play in the NBA. So you're their NBA player. You're what they're aspiring to be. And let me tell you something to any young men that are watching. If you play college basketball, that's big time basketball. You're blessed. If you play any type of professional basketball, that's big time basketball. You're blessed. Don't think that it has to have a label or a title for you to feel like you're not blessed. Anytime that this is a game. Anytime that you're playing this sport and it's allowing you to either pay for your education or allowing you to make a living or just allowing you to just do it and not take away from your everyday life where you have to do things because I've been a volunteer coach that did it for the love, and it has led me to this point now. But I'm so happy that I was able to do it just for the love. Didn't get paid anything. As a matter of fact, I was sleeping on somebody's living room floor. Didn't get paid anything, but did it for the love, man. And if you can still have something to do with basketball, the older you get, you're blessed because it's not something that, is for everybody. And a lot of kids will enter in high school, play high school basketball, but don't play college basketball. So just imagine you're playing college basketball and a lot of parents are like, well, I want a full scholarship for my son. But you look at the son and the son's like, man, I just want an opportunity, and if I got to work in the cafeteria, if I got to, do whatever in my fast food, I just want an opportunity because I love this game. And that's what I love to see at this level. You have so many of those type of guys.
No doubt. And you know what, coach? And like I said, it's all about building relationships. And this is an opportunity to build relationships, this prospect camp. So I hope any young man listening will sign up today. Check out the ASU Golden Rams men's basketball Twitter and Instagram account. Hit up Coach White today. Figure it out. Get on down to Albany. I'll be there.
Speaker JR from the Bossman Show, the fabulous and amazing JR that does so many things behind the scenes and touch so many lives behind the scenes, man. So don't sell yourself short, my man.
Yeah, but see, Coach, I ain't no wizard. I ain't trying to make myself some czar or some wizard over people. I just want to help people and do it for the love of helping people, because that's what my dad and mother want me to do. That's what the Lord want me to do.
Hey, you're a child of God. You're a child of the awesome and the great Mr. McHenry, Coach McHenry, I should say. So that's good enough.
Exactly. I can't wait to get there, Coach. I got it on my calendar. I cannot wait. I told everybody, do not bother me those days because I will be in Albany, Georgia, on a different mission.
Hey, and there will be some evaluations. So I'm excited to see what your notes are going to be.
Yes, sir. And Coach, this is doing it on my own time, Coach. Nobody's down there.
Hey, JR, I'm gonna tell you thank you because at a small HBCU D2, sometimes it's my line. We have an opportunity to offer you. So thank you. All we can pay you is this opportunity, Jay.
And that's fine with me, Coach.
We ain't got no NIL for you.
Hey, but Coach, I do have 1 year left, though. I do got 1 year left, Coach.
JR, just like you said, you're gonna be in the cafeteria, you're gonna be on campus. That's all we can offer you, JR.
Yes, sir. I look forward to it, Coach.
D2 HBCU. I just want to make that clear to everybody. We are a D2 HBCU. It's family and love and the passion that we pay people like you, JR.
I appreciate it, Coach. I cannot wait to get involved in that and enjoy that. And down in the great city of Albany, Georgia, which I've been to a few times in my life, and know a little about the city.
Hey, we call it the Banny.
The Banny, okay. The Banny, okay. I got you, Coach. The Banny.
But we're excited, man. We're excited, and hopefully we could do some things during the camp and talk to some of my young men that's going to be coming in playing for us. We actually do have a player from Atlanta that's going to be coming in working the camp as well. He was adamant, Coach, I want to work the camp this summer. So we're excited about May 30th.
Yes, sir. Well, folks, we'll close right there. Episode 16, Patrick Gayle Show. We'll be back down the road. Catch us on episode 17 with Coach's new background popping like that.
Hey, God bless all the mothers that are here with us and are here and are in heaven.
Well said, Coach. We're out. We'll see you soon, people.
BS3 Network. Changing the way you watch TV.
Yes, BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV, covering content and hot topics from A to Z, sports, music, society and culture, movie reviews, you name it, we have it. Check it out on bs3network.com or check us out on Roku, BS3 TV on Roku, as well as check out your favorite podcasts on all podcast platforms or Spreaker.com/BS3 Network.
You are now tuned to BS3 Network.
What's up, good people? Bet Online is your number one source for all your betting needs. The latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. Bet Online continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use your promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. What's up, family? Gerald the Bossman here. You're tuned into the Bossman Show on AM 1010, AM 1430, 1055 The King. Check The King out at 105theking.com and the Bossman Show at bossmanshow.com. Hit me up on Instagram, The Bossman Show, Twitter at Bossman Show, and Facebook, Bossman Show. It's the Bossman on your radio.
Listen to The Bossman Show with your host, JR, Saturdays at 9 a.m. right here on AM 1010, The King.